Algebra 1, lesson 11, multiplying and dividing real numbers. Sometimes I get under the impression, because I'm used to teaching Algebra 2, Algebra 3, and geometry, that you guys already know all of this stuff, because by the time you get to those other classes, you do already know this stuff. So I don't want to necessarily make the assumption that you know this, but some of this stuff I hope that you do know. Okay? We're talking about multiplying and dividing real numbers. So here we're talking about multiplication here. The sum of 3 2's is 6. Basically what they're saying is that multiplication is just repeated addition. We're just adding and adding and adding the same number a number of times. Okay? So the sum of 3 2's, that's 2 plus 2 plus 2, is 6. Right? And the sum of 2 3's is 6. 3 plus 3 is 6. So whenever basically that's two different ways of looking at the multiplication of 2 times 3, right? Either 2 plus 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 3. Either way, I'm getting 6, okay? So that's how we show repeated addition, but it's quicker, right? You guys should have started doing multiplication tables and that kind of memorization, probably as far back as the 4th grade? 3rd grade. It was 4th grade for me, so I'm glad they're starting with you guys earlier. Do you guys still remember a lot of your multiplication tables? I hope so, because that makes asking questions a lot quicker, right? Okay, because we know this stuff. We can see it. We can jump to the next thing. All right, so 3 times 2 is 6, the same way 2 times 3 is 6. Okay? So the properties of real numbers apply to all real numbers, rational and irrational. So the only thing that we're not working with here are imaginary numbers. You won't have to worry about that until probably a good chunk of the way through Algebra 2. Okay? And that's a good long ways off for you guys, so that's fine. So we're just talking about real numbers. But that can also include things like pi and the square root of 2. By that I mean irrational numbers. Okay, rational numbers, we can multiply fractions. So here are some properties of real numbers that you should already know. For instance, the identity property of multiplication means that if I multiply something by 1, I'm going to get the number that I'm multiplying by 1. Okay, 3 times 1 is 3, 4 times 1 is 4, pi times 1 is pi. Okay, radical 2 times 1 is radical 2. Anything unfamiliar about that? If we multiply something by 1, I get what I'm multiplying it by, correct? Which means that I'm multiplying by 1, right, I don't even necessarily need to do that operation because it does not change anything, okay? In a similar sense, the multiplication of 0, okay? What happens when I multiply anything by 0? I'm going to get 0. So those are two really nice properties because they fast forward our understanding. We can fast forward to the answer because we already know what I should be getting. Okay, multiply something by 1, get what I multiplied it by. Multiply something by 0, get 0. Okay, finally, and this is maybe the one that you'll need to understand because the other two you guys already knew, but the inverse property of multiplication, which deals in a large sense with fractions. Okay, if I multiply something by its inverse, I'm going to get 1. Okay, somebody give me a number. What do you say? 5. What is the inverse of 5? No, what is the inverse of 5? 1 over 5. Okay, so if we have 5 times the inverse of 5, okay, what am I multiplying 5 by? It's 5 times what? Well, okay, let's look at it like this. 5 can be written as a fraction, right? What's the fraction of 5? 5 over 1. Now, if I look at this as 5 over 1 times 1 over 5, what am I multiplying by? 5 times 1, and I'm getting, and 1 times. And what is this reduced to? 1. So if I multiply a whole number or even another fraction by the reciprocal, by the inverse, I will always get 1. Okay, let's try it with a fraction. Okay, somebody give me a fraction. 2/3. Okay? Clayton says 2/3. What is the inverse of 2/3? 3 over 2. Okay, so I'm multiplying by 3 over 2. What do I do, Clayton? Which is, and what else? And what's that? 1. So if I multiply something by its inverse, and probably another word that you would use would be reciprocal. If I multiply a number by its reciprocal, I get 1. Okay, does that make sense? Great. All right, let's see if they give us anything else in here. All right, multiplying signed numbers. What do we mean when we're saying signed numbers? Positive and negative numbers. All right, so our first one says if we multiply a positive times a positive, I'm going to get a positive. Okay? And in that same sense, if I multiply negative times a negative, I'm going to get a positive. And that's important to know and understand. Probably as much, you guys will already instinctively know a positive times a positive is a positive. But one I'm going to repeat just so that we continue to stay there is negative times negative is always positive. Okay? All right, so it needs to become secondhand. It needs to become memorized nature. Negative times negative is a positive. Then we get down to multiplying opposite signs. What is a negative times a positive? A negative. What is a positive times a negative? A negative. So if I ever multiply two numbers that don't have the same sign, it will always be negative. Okay? And we won't get into, now this says, notice this, two numbers, right? When we throw in a third number, things can change, right? Right? Whether I have two negatives and a positive, or two positives and a negative, something like that. All right, but we're talking about two numbers. Rules change when we throw in more numbers, right? Okay, so two numbers. There. Oh, sorry. We didn't scroll down. Let's come down here a little bit. Dividing signed numbers. In the same way, if I divide a positive by a positive, I'm going to get a, all right, if I divide a negative by a negative, I'm going to get a positive. Okay? Negative 8 divided by negative 4 will be a positive 2. Okay? But the same way that multiplication worked, if I divide unlike signed numbers, I will always get what? A negative number. So 10 divided by negative 5 will be negative 2. Because negative 5 times negative 2 is positive 10. Okay? Is all this stuff that we would have understood and we would have been able to do even if we hadn't talked about it. Okay, I'm getting a lot of heads up and down, so still kind of review, right? All right, good. Because now, let's see, I'm sure I got it here. Let's look at this. Let's just see how quick we are. Let's see, we are out of here at, what, 9:48? Something like that? All right, so we're at 9:28 right now, which means I've got about 10 minutes before I'm going to let you guys work. Let's see how many of these we can cover. 2 times negative 7. Negative 14, great. All right, let's look at this. Negative 3 squared. What am I doing with the negative 3 there? Multiplying it by negative 3. What's negative 3 times negative 3? Positive 9, because a negative times a negative is always a positive. All right? Now, this is not, make sure that we understand this, this is not negative 3 times 2, correct? Okay, because you notice that negative 6 up here is an answer. If we took negative 3 times 2, we would get negative 6, right? That's because the reason that option is up there, because that's a mistake people make, is that they look at an exponent as just multiplying our base times our exponent. That's not what we're doing. We're multiplying our base times our base that many times. All right? What about negative 3 to the third, though? How can I rewrite this as multiplication? What does that actually look like multiplication-wise? Okay, negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. All right, well, what's negative 3 times negative 3? Positive what? and negative 3 times positive 9. Is that going to be positive or negative? Negative, because that rule only worked when we were multiplying two numbers, right? When we added in a third number, now I'm getting negative what? Negative 27. So negative 3 cubed, okay, comes out as negative 27. Let me check my answer here. Yes, that's right. Okay. Okay, so be careful. That is not negative 3 times 3. What do you need, Anthony? Yep, go ahead. Oh, we ought to be able to do, yeah, hurry up, but we ought to be able to get some of this. You're a track star? Okay. What do you run, Blayton? You don't know. That's how big a star he is. He just does it all. All right, 280 divided by a negative number. Positive 280 divided by a negative. What should I know right off the bat? It's going to be what kind of number? Negative, because I've got a positive and a negative, right? I'm going to get a negative. So what answers can I eliminate?
80 and 800.
80 and 800. All right, so I know it's either got to be negative 80 or negative 8. Okay, what's 280 divided by negative 3.5? I'm going to put my bet on B. And I'm not. 280 divided by negative 80, is that correct? How many of you agree with Blayton? Nobody? Caden? All right, my guys in the back. Nobody in the second row agrees with him. They're not there yet. All right, I'm going to wait till everybody's actually done the question before we move on. Okay, that's the whole reason you got the calculators, right? Reagan, what did you get? Did you get it? Got negative 80, negative 80. Girls over here, negative 80, negative 80. Anthony, still working it out? Negative 80, all confirmed. Okay, let's look at number 5. What kind of number is this right here on the left? Negative. What kind of number is over here on the right? I'm dividing a negative by a negative. What kind of answer should I get? Positive. So that leaves me with 2 available answers, right? All right. Let's see. The funny thing about this, though, is can I divide a fraction, or can I divide by a fraction? No, I can't divide by a fraction, can I? All right. And this is negative 2/5 divided by negative 4/7, right? Okay. So if I was looking at it, I could look at it as negative 2/5 divided by negative 4/7. Does anybody know? Okay. Okay. But what if I can't divide by a fraction, what can I do? By the reciprocal of the fraction I'm dividing by. Okay? So what I would do here is negative 2/5 times what? Good, I almost did it wrong. Negative 7/4. Okay? All right, what's negative 2 times negative 7? 14. Okay, what's 5 times 4? 20. Can I reduce 14 20ths? What is that? 7/10. Can I reduce that? No. All right, should get that right there. All right, 7/10. Does this make sense? Right? You understand that we needed to multiply and do the reciprocal of the second number, not the first, but the second, what I'm dividing by. Okay? Okay. You guys want to pick a question out of what's left? Usually people will end up with like the word question or the word problem. What do you want to do? I'll do one more question. What do you want to do? Scroll on through. 7? 7. Okay. Let's see. Let's move this over. The ocean floor is at negative 94 meters. Okay? It's below sea level. So it's negative. Antonio, has reached negative 12 meters. If he continues to move down at 4 meters per minute, at what meter will he be from the ocean floor after 3 minutes? All right, so he's at negative 12, right? Okay, and he's going down at an average of 4 meters per minute, right? All right, so I need to take negative 4 times what? 3, right? Because that's going to tell me how many more meters he's going to go down, correct? In 3 minutes. All right, so how many more meters will he go down? He's going to go down 12 more meters, right? Okay, so what am I going to do with this negative 12 and the first negative 12? So how many meters will he be down? Four meters per minute. At what meter? Oh, okay. Hold on. Okay, so he's going to be 24 meters down, right? The question, though, and this is weird how it's worded, is basically how many meters is he going to be from the ocean floor? How far away? Okay, but we did need to find, he's negative 24 meters down. The ocean floor is negative 94. So how many meters is he away from the bottom? 70. He's 70 meters away from the bottom. Okay, so you're looking at, yeah, I mean it's an absolute value because we're talking about distance. Okay, so what you wind up with is, negative 94 minus negative 24. Okay, so you have negative 94 plus 24, which is absolute value of negative 70, which is 70. Okay? Does it make common sense at least? All right, great. All right, we're going to stop there. I'm going to let you guys work on your homework. I'll be around to answer questions if you have them, okay?